Bill number 2, third reading.
Honourable Simon Power.
Mr Speaker, I move that the Crimes Amendment Bill number 2 be now read a third time. Mr Speaker, this bill reflects the government's and I hope the Parliament's determination to prevent the abuse of the most vulnerable in New Zealand society, our children and vulnerable adults. In addition to work in other portfolios, such as the recent Green Paper for Vulnerable Children, one of the goals of the government when it came to office was to develop an appropriate response from the criminal justice system to violence against children. Consequently, in 2008, I invited the Law Commission, in the course of carrying out a review of Part 8 of the Crimes Act, that's offences against the person, to have specific regard to how the provisions of Part 8 could better protect children. In response, the Law Commission recommended that the scope of the offences and duties relating to care of children be broadened, an objective standard of care be imposed, and penalty levels adjusted to better reflect the gravity of offending. As it eventuated, the government has decided to give priority to these specific measures over and above the wider reforms that sought to tidy up Part 8 of the Crimes Act. This bill will strengthen the ability of agencies to hold individuals to account for harming the most vulnerable in our community. It will ensure that not only will the perpetrators of these acts be held accountable, but significantly and importantly, also those members of households who witness those incidents and turn a blind eye to the abuse or fail to take measures to stop ongoing incidents. The changes to the Crimes Act will also mean that those who have responsibility for children and who ill-treat or neglect a child can no longer use ignorance or thoughtlessness as a defence. They will be held accountable according to more objective standards of conduct that are to be expected of parents and caregivers. Mr Speaker, the bill also makes other important changes to the criminal law. The scope of sexual grooming offence is clarified to support active policing and the protection of children from the predatory behaviour of those using the internet as a medium. A property right criterion is added to the definition of claim of right to ensure that use of this defence conforms to common law and comparable overseas jurisdictions. The bill also increases the penalty for the offence of possession of an offensive weapon. But it is my hope, Mr Speaker, that the biggest impact of this bill will be to help to encourage those in day-to-day contact with endangered children to come forward if they know that abuse or neglect is taking place. We all know that the price of silence in such cases may be the perpetuation of abuse and neglect over an entire childhood, or in some cases, the savage loss of a young, blameless life. Mr Speaker, I commend this bill to the House.
The question is that the motion be agreed to.
Mr